everybody. Ron Wildman here on Middle Georgia Spotlight. The sounds of the season going on right now in the studio. Christmas 2020, not very good for a lot of Middle Georgians, but it's a lot better than other places in this world. And we have two guests with us who can tell us what it's all like in the Middle East. Max Wood, former federal attorney.
United States Attorney.
U.S. Attorney. And Helena Scott. You're with what?
American FRRRME, an organization that helps support Iraqi Christian refugees and other religious minorities in the Middle East.
So Christmas Day in the Middle East, with some of the people that you know, it's not very bright this year.
Yes, sir. It's a struggle, especially with COVID. They don't have access to food, aren't able to pay for their rent. It's a difficult time, but we're trying to bring hope, help, and healing, which is the mission of our organization, to them.
Max, how did you get involved in all this? It all started in Baghdad.
That's correct.
Why were you there?
I was in Baghdad in the 2004 timeframe to serve as the Senior Department of Justice official at the United States Embassy in Baghdad. And I got exposed to the ministry of a gentleman named Andrew White who was trying to help Iraqi Christians, and joined with other American veterans that served over there to form a charity that her father actually got started to help these Iraqi Christians in Baghdad. Then in 2014, when ISIS spread its brutality across northern Iraq, we got involved in helping those Iraqi Christians who were now refugees in Jordan. And Helena has been in Jordan for 3 years now, helping those Iraqi Christian refugees. They're living in Jordan.
Basically, we don't hear a thing about way down there on ground.
Right.
It used to be we would hear a lot about the bombing and everything, but there's a lot going on over there that we just don't know about.
There was a tragedy, and it was covered by American media for about 3 days. And it was covered well, but then after 3 days, the attention span went somewhere else. But for these people that had to flee their homes, literally with what they could carry, it's been a 6-year nightmare.
How many folks are we talking about?
Roughly 120,000 Christians fled in 2014 when ISIS invaded, and then around 60,000 made their way to Jordan. But the rest were scattered all throughout the Middle East and Turkey, Lebanon, some went to Syria, then, which wasn't the best choice because then they had to leave and become refugees again. It's a difficult situation, but they are a religious minority as Christians in the Middle East.
What brings you to Middle Georgia?
Well, we wanted to bring Helena down to Middle Georgia because this community is so giving. This community has been helping the refugees for years. Churches in this community, businesses, well, individuals in this community. We've brought other speakers from the foundation to Middle Georgia, and Middle Georgia has responded. We've had churches, Methodist churches, Baptist churches, Martha Bowman Methodist, Fort Valley Methodist, Cascade Hills Baptist, and Columbus are our big three donors. And then we've had other churches that have helped us on a smaller scale, Warner Robins Methodist, Riverside Methodist in Macon. We're going to have a meeting with Bonaire Baptist Church today, and I'm probably leaving somebody out. So they've been very generous. As you know, this community is very generous. So we've brought other speakers and visitors from the foundation to Middle Georgia, and we wanted to bring Helena as she comes home to her native New Hampshire. Before she went home, she's usually in Jordan. And we brought her home for Christmas and asked her before she went to New Hampshire to come to Georgia for the first time in her life and tell her story. And she's spoken in 3 churches, and she's met with another 3 or 4 pastors. And she today spoke at the Children's Home. I believe you have
Methodist Children's
Children's Home, and did an outstanding job.
You know the minister over there?
I know Bob Moon. Bob Moon used to be my pastor at Martha Bowman, and my present pastor used to also be over there at the Children's Home. So there's a real connection in the Methodist community with the Methodist Children's Home. And we thought Helena would be a great person to speak to the young people. And she did today. And I think you got some pictures of that.
What are some of the comments you made to the kids today?
Well, I just really enjoyed the warm welcome that we've received all throughout Georgia. And then at the children's home, I just emphasized the importance of having hope, even if you've undergone trauma and experiences like the refugees. So I gave a little background about some of the traumatic experiences they've received, but how strong their faith is, these Christians who have gone through so much, and how important just love and Christian compassion is, even in the most difficult times.
Did you feel you were getting to the kids?
I really did. I was very impressed by their questions. They were very smart children, and very interested in hearing about other children so far away from them.
That have more problems than they do.
Right, and it was a really special morning to be able to connect to the community.
Max, how good a job did she do over there at the children's
She did
home?
a fantastic job, Ron. She really her passion for her work came across, and her love for her fellow man, particularly her fellow Christians, came across. She also speaks Arabic and Farsi. She went to school in London to learn Middle Eastern culture and Persian culture, and speaks Arabic and Farsi. So she gave some examples of speaking Arabic and Farsi. Farsi is the language they speak in Iran and Afghanistan, and they were pretty fascinated. I think the adults were pretty fascinated too at her language skills, in addition to her dedication to her work. But it was a very good event at the Methodist Children's Home today.
I don't live too far from the children's home, but I haven't been back in that area for a while. That's become quite an operation over there.
Beautiful campus.
Yes, it is.
Beautiful.
Now, what type organization do you have over in the Middle East
Well,
for the folks?
At first we started mainly in Iraq, and we're helping support the Christian church there. But then when ISIS invaded in 2014 and displaced so many people, we really had to get involved in supporting the Christian refugees. They don't receive any other support aside from the church support and small faith-based organizations such as American FRRME. So we provide food coupons, clothing distributions, meat distributions, sometimes packages of meat for the families because they can't afford meat. We help with rent and medical support. And then something that I'm so excited about, last year we opened an olive tree center. And this is a center for the Iraqi Christian refugees to engage in. They don't have access to education, so we teach English classes, art and music therapy to help them overcome some of the traumatic situations they've been in. And really, it's just a blessing to have a center focused on them where they can feel compassion and also grow and learn and develop for their futures. Because as refugees in Jordan, they're unable to work. It's illegal for them to work, and they're expected to pay rent and expected to live even though they're not allowed to work and provide.
Why can't they work?
Because
Full jobs.
Jordan is a safe place for refugees, but it doesn't grant them the right to work. So while they aren't persecuted for their faith in Jordan, they're physically safe, but it's against the law for refugees to work. It's not recognized in the Jordanian law.
Take away from jobs.
Exactly.
Yes,
That's what it is.
yes, sir.
Exactly.
So what's going to happen over there?
Well, we are trying to, first the Olive Tree Center is sort of a emotional and physical and psychological refuge where they sort of can get started over again. And we help them immigrate, those that want to try to immigrate. Of course, we can't control that, but we help them with the process and the paperwork and the strategy. And we're also funding those that want to go back to Iraq. If they have a business skill and can explain that to us, we will work with them and partner with that and give them a micro grant to go back to northern Iraq and restart their business. ISIS came through and destroyed, just paved over buildings, destroyed whole cities, whole small towns. So those that want to go back and build and run a bakery or run a chicken farm or run a nursery or run a fish hatchery or a wheat factory, we've helped already. We've funded a dozen projects like that where they'll go back and start these small businesses, and we have a staffer on the ground in Iraq. Helena's our staffer in Jordan, and then we have an Iraqi staffer in Iraq who monitors the fund distribution and makes sure the money is spent properly. And we've helped a dozen small businesses start back up in Iraq and hope to do more. We've had about 17 to 20,000 Iraqi refugees go back to Iraq since 2017 when we defeated ISIS. So we need to we hope to pull back another 50,000 before we're finished. But it takes jobs, it takes economic activity, and we're providing the seed money for that. And it's something that as the donations come in, we're able to do that more and more as time goes on.
Max, I know you're a patriot. What has the U.S. done over there to help in any way?
Not much. Not much at all, Ron. In fact, some of our policies created the problem, both Bush administration policies, which I was a part of the Bush administration on the local level. But the Bush administration made some mistakes, the Obama administration made some mistakes, and these Christian Iraqis were collateral damage to these strategic decisions that created a vacuum that led ISIS to come up. But candidly, the United States, the government, has not been a lot of help. These Christians are on their own, and we're one of the major groups helping them. And we're not the only group, and the Christian churches in Jordan are helping. But there's no Marshall Plan for Iraq like we had after World War II. So we're doing it in small bits and pieces with private donations. We are a 501c3 charity, so you can make a tax-deductible donation to us. And we're just taking it one step at a time. And that's what's so remarkable about Helena, what she's been able to accomplish in 3 years over there.
Back when we were getting coverage from over there, those 3 days or so, all we saw were bombing scenes.
Yes.
Children screaming and being carried off the hospitals and stuff. What's the future of Jordan? What's the situation now, and what does it look like going to happen in the next few years?
Well, I am thankful for what the Jordanian government has allowed, which is allowing the Iraqi refugees to come. However, the future is difficult, and that's why we're working to address problems. We're lobbying and advocating for Iraqi Christian refugees to be allowed in the school system. They're currently not allowed to receive an education there in the government school system. We're also trying to help gain medical support so that the refugees can receive emergent medical support without having to pay a fee that they are unable to pay. We think that with the olive tree centers, we're hoping to open, we're actually planning to open a new one in the poorest area to serve even more refugees. We think that these centers provide hope and help, and we're trying to just continue those efforts with education, support, and mental health support services, while also advocating within the government, because we really need large-scale governmental policy change. And
the U.S. Embassy does help some in lobbying, but it's Jordanian government policy. We can't make them do something.
So the goal is to get everybody back to Iraq if we can?
If they want to go.
Can they go?
They can go. If the problem is economics and security. We can help with the economics, and I think if the economics will bring people back, I think they'll create their own security.
Before time gets away from us, what can folks in Middle Georgia do? You have several churches helping you.
Yes.
What kind of aid are they getting? Are they writing checks, making collections?
A lot of wonderful checks being written, a lot of prayers. If there's someone in the Middle Georgia area that's a veteran that's served in Iraq, I would love to talk with them about possibly coming on our board. We have a number of veterans on our board. We have an opening on our board right now that we could fill if someone served in Iraq, has a faith-based interest in helping these refugees. Please go to our website, American FRRME. FRRME is the acronym, AmericanFRRME.org, and give us a call and let's have a conversation about ways to help. But this community has been so generous over the years, and we appreciate it.
And Middle Georgia is not the wealthiest areas in the country.
It's very generous.
But
very generous.
They have heart, big hearts.
Big hearts.
What's a typical day for you over there like?
Well, a typical day can really range. I distribute the food coupons. I also teach English, so very often I'm running back and forth trying to meet the various needs. We also have to respond to medical emergencies, so I go to the hospitals and negotiate for a discount so that the refugee can receive fair medical treatment. It's really wide-ranging. I spend as much time as I can at the Olive Tree Center. I love teaching the children, and I love just trying to give them hope. I spend a lot of time visiting the families. I do home visits and wellness checks on them to see how we can help, what they need, and just try and boost morale. I spend a lot of time with the church leaders who are all amazing, and they're across all different denominations. We help support a Nazarene church refugee community, a Syrian Orthodox church led by an Iraqi priest, the Full Gospel Church, which is a Pentecostal church led by a Korean pastor who's amazing, and his wife, and the Greek Catholic Church. So I've really been inspired by all the Christian communities in Jordan, despite denomination getting together. And I'm also so grateful for the people of Georgia who are helping their fellow Christians in need.
Is there a need for various supplies like school supplies, medical supplies, food, clothing, sanitation?
Sanitation kits. We supply a lot of sanitation. With
Yes.
COVID, you want to tell them, COVID?
Yes.
You didn't need that, did you?
We definitely didn't. And actually, Jordan had one of the most restrictive lockdowns in the world. The king decided that people couldn't leave their houses for 5 days. So as refugees who live in multiple families, live in often 1 or 2 bedroom, very tight accommodations, that was very, very tough. They couldn't go outside. It was very hard for me to deliver the relief that we had because the streets were shut down. The military was in the streets arresting anyone who violated the curfew. Sirens went off each night at 6 p.m. telling everyone they had to be inside. It was very surreal, but for me it made me be able to empathize even more with the refugees because they're trapped no matter what. They're not allowed to move forward unless they receive immigration support and permission from a country for entry. So they're stuck in Jordan until they receive that. The airport was closed. So as an American, for the first time in my life, I was trapped in a country. No commercial flights went in or out. So it was a very tough situation, but we kept that hope going. At the Olive Tree Center, we set up a sewing mask project. So the Iraqi refugee women, we gave them sewing machines, and they made masks for the community because masks were mandatory everywhere to go, even on the street, and gloves. So we also started a garden. We call it the Garden of Hope that started at the beginning of May, and throughout the summer it sprouted up amazing produce, corn, cucumbers, tomatoes. So that was an amazing initiative to have this hope and to have the refugee community supporting fellow Christians in need.
Well, over here we don't have a king to shut things down,
Right.
but we have governors
We do.
who've been trying to do that. Max, have you compared the situation? And how did that shutdown work over there, that tight shutdown? Did it work at all or what?
Well,
They still sick?
exactly. It worked initially, but people ended up riding on small levels, and eventually things had to reopen. But the virus did spread. There were also internet restrictions, which was tough. But the main problem was when the banning of cars. So I usually travel all over Jordan to get out our relief. But I was so thankful, and with the power of prayer, actually, a police escorted me when the roads were shut to get those relief packages out. So that was amazing to figure out just how supportive everyone was praying for us, and we found ways to get that relief out.
The police were Jordanian?
Jordanian police,
And they
yes,
helped you.
they did.
That's great. I can see why, though. You'd be easy to help.
Thank you.
we'd love to see someone, students at Mercer University, reach out and talk to us and get them involved. All that energy and youth and the vision. I hope someone watching this in the student population will reach out to us. We'd love to talk to them.
It sounds like a great Mercer project.
Absolutely, absolutely.
They come over there and give you a hand.
Absolutely.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. At one point, when we couldn't drive, I was so desperate to get relief out that I got some rollerblades and thought thought that I could rollerblade the food packages around, but that didn't work out as well as the police escort. So,
Jordan, basically a desert country, or what kind of topography do you have over there?
It's very hilly within Amman, but then the closer you get to Aqaba, it's complete desert. So
Rollerblades don't work too well.
they don't, especially if you don't know how to brake.
So when will you be going back?
I'll be going back right after Christmas.
Now, did you ever have a fear of getting the virus over there? I'm sure you had it. The fear of it, did you catch it?
I was sick in May, but I never tested positive. So I made sure I wore a mask and stayed away from people for the 2-week period.
Well, everything's a symptom. I think
Right.
I've had it 4 or 5 times.
Right. But I wasn't worried about it. I just wanted to make sure that we protected the refugee community. So we supported the mask making projects and hygiene kit distribution, because imagine we're able to wash our hands and use hand sanitizer, but refugees living on top of each other, it's very difficult for them to have access to the same hygiene practices. So we were very supportive of making sure we got some hygiene kits out to them to help prevent the spread.
Well, we were to understand back in the beginning, all this Jordanian coverage we were getting, that the king was just on his way out the door.
Right.
But he's pretty solid over there.
He is. I mean, people are supportive of the king, but it was tough during the lockdown. But in general, people are happy with him.
Well, he thought he was doing the right thing.
He did, and he did. To give him credit, he knew that they do not have the medical infrastructure to treat, as many people getting sick as he would need to if it spread throughout the country. So these strict restrictions did help against that, but it was just a very hard condition to live in at the time.
What do you think is going to happen over there, Max, eventually, in Jordan especially?
I think Jordan is going to stay stable. I think the monarchy is pretty well established there. Jordan is supported by tourist dollars and foreign aid. And what we're concerned about is what's going to happen in Iraq. And we hope that a significant portion of those refugees will go back to Iraq, because Christianity was in that area for 2,000 years. Christianity was in that area 400 years before Islam came into being. Christianity was in that area 1,500 years before Christianity came to North America. So that's a lot of history, cultural, religious, and just human history in that region of northern Iraq that they call Nineveh. This is where the ancient city of Nineveh was located, the Nineveh in the Bible. So we're hoping that those Iraqi Christians can go back and add to the fabric of that society. They lived in peace with Muslim neighbors for 2,000 years until the summer of 2014. They lived with Kurdish Muslims, they lived with Arabic Muslims, they lived with Turkish Muslims, all in that community, and they lived in peace. Saddam Hussein did not bother that region, but ISIS destroyed it and destroyed 2,000 years of history. So that's a sad story that we want to see turn around and have a happy ending.
Do you think it's going to happen?
Lord willing. Lord willing.
Now, the folks that you have over in Jordan, do they have skills? Or what kind of skills do they have? What's a skill over there?
They were
machine shops.
Yeah, well, the Iraqis had a self-sustaining economy in this part of Iraq. They had bankers.
Christian area.
Right.
Yeah, the Christian area. They had bakers, carpenters, electricians, construction people, small businessmen, priests, pastors, restaurant owners. These are very capable people. They were not on the government dole at all. They were self-sustaining shepherds, agricultural based chicken farms were all there. In fact, there were a lot of chicken farms there for some strange reason. They grew a lot of chickens, which has a connection to Georgia, obviously, because we have a poultry industry here.
And they eat a lot of chicken, like we do.
Yes, so there was a self-sustaining, peaceful, I don't want to say idyllic, but it was a peaceful, self-sustaining area that just wanted to be left alone, and was basically left alone for 2,000 years. Even World War II did not damage this area. And again, it's not pristine by any way, but it was a peaceful area until ISIS decided to destroy anything associated with Christianity, and ISIS destroyed anything associated with Islam that it didn't agree with. So they were killing Muslims also. It was just evil, horrible, barbaric military religious operations.
Is ISIS out of there, or are they laying low, or what?
There are still remnants there. They're laying low. We made them functionally not a factor militarily, but it's easy to be a terrorist. It's hard to be a military organization. So there are occasional flashes of terrorist acts, but militarily they're gone. But evil will always be with us, and that evil is still there.
A lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah.
It's always going to be here.
Always going to be here.
We have just a little while remaining. You want to look out there and tell the folks what you really need, if you can?
Oh, well, thank you. Really, we just need continued prayers, and obviously any support towards helping these Iraqi Christians not feel forgotten, but also have the ability to have futures and to have hope. We hope to open the next Olive Tree Center that will support so many of these refugees. And we have other projects in Iraq that really need support, but we just appreciate the prayers and not forgetting about these Iraqi Christians.
What about the locals, Max? Talk to those Mercer kids again.
Please, if you're a student here at Mercer, please reach out to us. We'd love to have some sort of engagement with you. We would invite a visit to Jordan if someone wants to come visit and meet with Helena and see what she does. We would love to see any sort of engagement with the Mercer University, just like we'll engage with any well-intentioned church, any well-intentioned civic club. If there's any activity with Mercer that could match the vision of Mercer with our vision, we would love to have some sort of cooperation.
We have other colleges, Wesleyan, Fort Valley State,
Fort Valley
Georgia
State.
College up in Milledgeville.
Absolutely. We'd love the
And,
help. We'd love the help. Whatever college students might be hearing us today, we'd love to get you involved. Helena started young, and she's still young, and she's living proof that a young person can make. She's probably an outstanding example of what a difference a young
What
person
a person can do.
one person dedicated and properly trained can do if they go over there.
Helena, thank you for being with us.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Max, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Ron.
Say
Always
hi
good
to
see
your
you.
wife, Suzanne.
I will.
We
will.
worked together.
You sure
Over
did.
at Channel 24.
Those were good days.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. And to you folks, Merry Christmas, and we have a Happy New Year
You
coming
too,
up
Ron.
too. I'm Ron Wildman here at WMUB TV.